All right, y'all, today's one of those exciting days, at least for me, because we're gonna start tearing this permaculture barn down and we're gonna start using it down in the greenhouse and a number of other places. Ain't that right, Milk Boy? All right, y'all, here we are, cold morning. It's all good. That's the way it goes. Okay, we got this permaculture barn that we have kind of outfitted with this hot wire going all the way around. But we need the boards off of here to be able to use down there. We're gonna use it for just about everything. You're being a little impatient this morning. We're gonna use it pretty much down there in the greenhouse for all kinds of stuff. We'll cover more of that later, but as you can see, there's a giant chasm in the back of here. And if we go back here a little bit, you can see, we'll just kind of talk what's back here because we never really covered it in a long time. We have rainwater catchment on this lean-to kind of barn, and you can see a little bit, you can see remnants of the tank out there right now. Ultimately, all of this is going to go away. In fact, everything from here that way is going to disappear so we can make room for the earth shift that's going to happen in the future. But we got to take steps and we got to get this out of here. So instead of just taking this stuff and piling it up somewhere, we're spending a ton of money on materials, as everybody knows is doing any kind of construction these days. Wood, well, pretty much nothing's cheap. So it makes a whole lot of sense, even though it creates a whole lot more work to tear this stuff off the barn. And it's good lumber. I mean, we're talking about some hardcore oak that they had milled, and we're going to use it down there in the areas we can. So in these days where everybody has more time than money, I don't know anybody that has it the other way around, but in these days where everybody has more time and money, this is some of those things that you can apply. Now, in the past, I was working on a job in Texas where we had massive timbers, some 4x6s, many of which are being used out here right now, that were being used on pallets. Now, they would take this wood, break down these pallets, or not even break them down, just pile them up out back. And then when I found out what they were heat treated and they were solid, I started getting them. And then lo and behold, all of a sudden, all this massive pile of wood out there that nobody cared about, all of a sudden, everybody else is saying, hey man, I need some of that for my house. Well, some of that stuff had been sitting there for years. They didn't care about it, just like the little kids in the playground. They didn't care about it until they saw me getting it. So I was taking my lunch breaks, I was working 12 plus hours a day, taking my lunch breaks, getting all that stuff. And that's what it takes sometimes, y'all. But in this case, where we have a barn that's basically taking up real estate that we need for something else, it can be repurposed down the hill, and that's the mission today. And we're going to show you how we use it down there. All right, y'all, things are in a little bit of disarray right now, but what we have essentially is the battery, the energizer, the whole 9 yards. We even got a little solar thing up there, and it all comes, really, all the heart of everything on this permaculture barn is right here. But see, what it does in a nutshell is that this hot wire essentially leaves here, goes up over the barn all the way around, and then goes all the way down. It connects into, anybody that's new here, you'll just find out right now that we have a perimeter wire around the whole property. It's all hot. And it ties into a tethering system that we invented long ago, but that's not really what this is about. Problem we have is we need to get the boards off this barn, but this hot wire goes all the way around, okay? We don't need it here right now. So all we're gonna do, we have to basically get it from where it is, go to the other side. That's not important. But what is making sure that we get these insulators off of here. Everything's off right now. These things, I like them on this thing. They just pop out, bam. So we'll just pull this off and then it's commenced. I'm gonna work on the doors for that greenhouse with some other lumber, and Michelle and William are gonna go ahead and take this stuff off of here. It's gonna go down in the greenhouse. We're gonna show you how we do it. Okay, y'all, it's the next day. It was freezing, and it's still a little bit cold right now, except for everybody except for this one right here, which the worse the weather, the more he loves it. Ain't that right, Milk Boy? Anyway, while he's down there looking for something, let's just kind of recap what we have here. We've basically taken that stuff on the barn, all that stuff that honestly most people would see as scraps, but these days I think people are feeling the impetus to maybe find more uses for things that otherwise they might have thrown away or just discarded or maybe even burned. But here's what we got left. You can see behind me, this is the hide tunnel, and it's ready to rock and roll. There's other things that we can talk about on this, but really the thing we're trying to get at in this video, sorry y'all, my lips are a little bit cold right now, is making use of things that ordinarily would just not be used for anything. Okay, what we have here, y'all, this is all recycled wood, every bit of it. This old louver or whatever it used to be in this old greenhouse, it's aluminum. Don't really have a spot for it right now. Over here, these were the panels that used to be on this thing. In fact, in the old pictures circa 1980 or so, that's what they had on there. The fact that they're still here and, you know, they're 12 feet long, I'm sure somebody would have a use for that. It's just not going to be right here. We're going to put plastic on this. We got all these aluminum pieces here. But folks, I don't know if you've gone and checked the price of metal, aluminum or otherwise. It ain't cheap. I can guarantee you that. All those pieces over there, this is basically stuff that used to be on this greenhouse that aren't no more. Now, all this wood over here, all of that stuff is recycled. Just about everything you see here is recycled. And believe it or not, some of this stuff actually came from that old job I was working in Texas. A lot of these 4x6s, all that stuff, I mean, a good piece of it came from there. Now, William and Michelle took down this oak siding on the side of the barn. William came up with this idea that this would be a pretty cool way of using it because, you know, it's old barn wood. Hit it with the Shosugi bond. And like I said, these are not light. These are oak panels. So we put plastic behind it, put them on here. So now we're ready to rock and roll on that. Even the doors I fabricated, and we'll show you those in a minute. We hit them with another type of Shosugi bond. Instead of being black and scorched like this, we did it in another way, and we'll show you that in a minute. But this is essentially where we are right now. And we've made a good piece of this. In fact, the whole structure here is recycled from the 1980s. And as a little side note, folks, they weren't concerned. When they built this thing, the parts and pieces of this, believe me, they were not concerned at all with planned obsolescence. Now, if you don't know what that is, you know, you believe me, you live it every single day where things are engineered to break down at a certain time. These things are built. This aluminum here, y'all, it is solid. And when it's under tension, it's very, very solid. Find me another high tunnel or greenhouse or anything like it these days is built with the same amount of material that they did back then. So these things were meant to last for a very long time. So here we are. Everything except for, you know, the plastic obviously isn't recycled. This weed block isn't recycled. There's a few things that haven't been recycled. Door hinges and stuff like that I'm able to take off the barn. We're going to try to use them as best we can down here as well. So that's really the thing, y'all. Recycle, reuse, reduce, all that stuff that they say these days. We're actually, he seems excited about it. We're actually applying that stuff. Now, the conduit that I'm going to put down through the middle of here, I talked before in the last video how it was going to go side by side and it was going to help shore this up. Well, we were able to use some of these Z brackets, recycled them. They weren't exactly, it took a long time to get it done, believe me, because a lot of these had to be cut with a bandsaw and I had to piece them in. It took some time, but that was material we didn't have to buy. And that's conduit that I'm not going to have to use because quite frankly, this is much, much stronger the way I have it now with these recycled Z brackets that were in this pile of rubbish than anything I could have done with a conduit. So that's also a good thing. This thing is solid, it's tough, it's recycled, and frankly, at this point, I couldn't be happier. So folks, think about those things outside of the way. Like I started this video when I was in Texas. There was mountains of wood out there, heat treated, perfect stuff for the garden. Nobody cared about it until I got it. So the moral to the story is, when you make your mind up to get some of this stuff, you better get everything you want before the other people say, well, I wanted that. You know the deal. So anyway, we'll go up there and look at these doors and everything that we've had. We'll just kind of give you a blurb of that. But by and large, folks, it's all around you. Everywhere you look, things that maybe weren't intended to be used for a certain way can be. And I think these times are making us realize just the full extent of how we can do that. All right, y'all, so here's the end of it right here. I mean, we had to make certain compromises because of the kind of lumber we had. In fact, as we're planning out the inside of that, reusing a lot of this lumber, we're gonna have to change some of our designs because, like I said, once again, y'all, I can't say it enough. I know we all got more time than money these days, but anyway, everything you see here is recycled. This is stuff that came out of that barn, but we did a little bit differently on the Shosugi barn. In fact, I missed a couple of spots that we'll have to hit. But basically, this is a door. It's got a little cross brace on the back of it, but I left it open to where I'll take some of that leftover screening that we have from along the bottom, put it in here, and then eventually it'll have plastic going over the top. It's still a work in progress, but this is another method of that Shosugi barn by taking something that was not very pretty to look at. I could have painted it. Yeah, you could do that. But I was thinking, okay, maybe we'll just hit it enough with the Shosugi barn to make some of the grains pop. And this is one method of doing it. You could even go a little bit more and then scrape it off with a metal brush. At the end of the day, we're going to wind up hitting this with the linseed oil and everything else. But this is all recycled stuff, y'all. Even the gussets back here. Every bit of what you see is recycled. So it's coming out of that barn and it's being reused down there. So folks, at the end of the day, I guess what I'm getting at, you know what? I could even, next time Justin brings his little daughter Charlotte over, we could even have a little puppet show up in here. Who knows? Something else I just thought of. Who knew you could do all this stuff with recycled stuff? So here I am in Billy's puppet house, and I'm basically saying, y'all, just think outside the box, especially these days. Use every possible thing you can these days. And don't be afraid to ask, folks. If you see a pile of what they think is rubbish, go ask. Sometimes it's even better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. You dig? So folks, at the end of the day, we're going to use everything we can and bring to bear everything we can to recycle and reuse everything we can down at that greenhouse. Remember, check us out on Patreon. Check out our website. We got lots of cool stuff, whether it's comfrey, bone sauce, spoons, you name it. If you need a consultation, reach out to William on Instagram or check him out at the website. Check us out on Patreon. There's a lot of different ways you can support us, y'all. Even check out the description here in this video and all the others as well. So until next time, this is Billy from Pastures Farm, where permaculture is my passion. We'll see y'all next time.